Sebastian Harrington came home with a bracelet. His mother was waiting with a contract, and his pregnant wife was standing between them with one hand over the child Catherine Harrington was already trying to erase. Sebastian had returned to Harrington House 2 days earlier than expected, carrying a small velvet box in his palm and a guilt he did not yet know how to name. For 3 weeks, he had been in Zurich attending board dinners, signing documents, answering calls, and convincing himself that providing for his wife was the same as being present for her. It was almost sunset when he entered the mansion. The marble floors were quiet. The chandeliers were already lit. Rain pressed softly against the tall windows, turning the old estate silver and cold. Sebastian had planned to surprise Amelia. She was 8 months pregnant, tired more often now, softer in her movements, slower on the staircase. He had missed 2 prenatal appointments and 1 charity dinner she had attended alone. The bracelet was not enough to fix that. He knew it, but he had bought it anyway, because men raised in houses like Harrington House were taught to apologize with expensive objects before they learned how to apologize with changed behavior. He was halfway through the entrance hall when he heard his mother's voice coming from the main salon. Calm, controlled, cruel enough to make the air stop moving. Sign it, Amelia. Take the money and leave before that child is born. Because if your son is born a Harrington, he may inherit the claim your mother died trying to prove. Sebastian froze. The velvet box nearly slipped from his hand. For a moment, he thought he had misheard. Catherine Harrington spoke with such elegance that even violence sounded like etiquette when it came from her mouth. But through the half-open salon doors, Sebastian saw the table, legal papers, a cashier's check, a silver pen, a confidentiality agreement, and Amelia. His wife stood beside the mahogany table in a pale blue dress, one hand resting on her pregnant belly, the other gripping the back of a chair as if her body had become too tired to hold every humiliation upright. Pinned near her heart was the small golden rose brooch she always wore when she needed courage. Sebastian had once thought it was sentimental. Now, he saw his mother staring at it like it was evidence. Catherine sat across from Amelia in an ivory silk dress, her posture perfect, her face composed, her diamonds cold beneath the chandelier light. She did not shout. Catherine Harrington never shouted. She destroyed people with contracts, doctors, attorneys, newspaper columns, and smiles polished enough to pass for kindness. Amelia looked at the papers, then at Catherine. "No," she said quietly. Catherine tilted her head. "No. I will not sign away my child's dignity so you can sleep comfortably in a house built on secrets." Catherine smiled. "Dignity is expensive, darling, and yours has always been borrowed." Sebastian stepped into the room. Both women turned. Catherine's expression changed for less than a second. Not fear, exactly. Calculation. "Sebastian," she said, "you were not expected until Friday." "No," he replied, "I wasn't." Amelia did not run to him. She did not cry his name. She did not ask him to save her. She simply stood there, pale and exhausted, one hand over their child, watching him as if his presence had arrived too late to feel like rescue. Sebastian looked at the contract. "What is this?" Catherine folded her hands. "A private arrangement that should have been completed before you returned." "A private arrangement with my wife?" "With a woman who has created a dangerous complication." Amelia closed her eyes. Sebastian picked up the first page. Separation agreement, medical support until birth, discreet apartment, lump sum settlement, absolute silence, no claim against the Harrington family, no influence over the child's inheritance, no public statement, no future dispute. The words were clean and legal. That made them worse. Sebastian turned to his mother. "You tried to make my pregnant wife leave?" Catherine did not blink. "I tried to protect the I family. From my wife? From what she represents." The room went still. Amelia gave a soft, humorless laugh. "There it is." Sebastian looked at her. "What does she mean?" Amelia looked at the velvet box in his hand, the bracelet, the apology, the symbol of how little he had understood. "You only heard her because you came home early," Amelia said, "not because you were paying attention." The sentence struck him harder than Catherine's cruelty. Sebastian's voice softened. "Amelia." "No," she said. "Please do not say my name like you just found me. I have been here for months." Catherine's expression hardened. "This is theatrical." Amelia turned toward her. "Theater requires an audience. I lived this alone." Then she looked back at Sebastian. "Your mother corrected my grammar in front of the staff. She told the housekeeper not to use the good china when I had tea alone because I would not know the difference. She replaced my dresses because mine were too provincial for Harrington events. She told guests my upbringing was a reputation problem. She said my pregnancy was fast, convenient, and socially unfortunate." Sebastian's face lost color. Amelia continued, voice steady, eyes bright with pain. "She told the driver to use the side entrance at the museum gala so photographers would not capture me beside the family crest. She asked me whether my mother taught me table manners before or after cleaning hospital floors. And when I stopped telling you, because every time I did, you said your mother needed time, Catherine understood something before I did." Sebastian whispered, "What?" "That silence protects the person causing pain, not the person surviving it." Catherine stood. "Enough." Amelia looked down at the contract. "Pregnancy makes women emotional," Catherine said softly. "Before you walked in." Catherine's eyes narrowed. Amelia lifted her gaze. "But pregnancy did not make me emotional. Cruelty made me quiet. There is a difference." Sebastian looked at his mother as if seeing a stranger wearing a familiar face. He had trusted Catherine because she had raised him to believe control was care. He had excused her sharpness as tradition, her judgment as standards, her coldness as strength. Now he saw the truth. His mother had not been preserving a family. She had been training everyone inside it to confuse fear with respect. Amelia placed both hands over her belly. "Our child does not need a mansion, Sebastian. He needs a father who does not arrive after every humiliation." No one spoke. Rain touched the windows. Somewhere deep in the house, a clock marked the hour with a sound like a warning. Then Catherine's gaze dropped again to Amelia's brooch. The golden rose. Small, old, dangerous. For the first time, Catherine's composure cracked. Not because she looked afraid of Amelia. She looked afraid of the rose pinned to her dress. "Where did you get that?" Catherine asked. Amelia's hand moved to the brooch. "It was my mother's. Your mother's name. Lydia Rose." The name changed the room. Catherine's lips parted before she could stop herself. Sebastian noticed. Amelia noticed. And Catherine knew they had noticed. "You knew her," Sebastian said. Catherine turned away. "I knew many people." "That is not what I asked." Catherine faced Amelia. "Take that thing off." Amelia's voice lowered. "No, that brooch does not belong in this house. It belonged to Lydia Rose. Now it belongs to me." Catherine took a step closer. "Your mother brought trouble everywhere she went." Amelia's eyes sharpened. "No, my mother brought receipts. That is why women like you call them trouble." Sebastian looked from one woman to the other. "What happened to Lydia Rose?" Catherine gathered the contract papers. "This conversation ends now." "No," Sebastian said. "It begins now." Catherine's gaze cut to him. "You will not search that name in this family's records." That was the mistake. Until that moment, Sebastian had been ashamed. Now he was suspicious. "You mean Lydia Rose?" Catherine said nothing. Amelia's voice became quieter. "My mother worked at Harrington Private Hospital years before I was born. She never told me everything. Only that powerful families are kindest when they need you and cruelest when they no longer do." Catherine looked at the brooch again. "Your mother misunderstood generosity." Amelia touched the golden rose. "My mother understood promises." Catherine folded the contract slowly. "If you open that door, Sebastian, you may not like what walks through it." Sebastian stared at the papers meant to erase his wife, then at the woman who had raised him, then at Amelia, standing alone in a house that should have protected her. "No, mother," he said. "I am beginning to think you are afraid of what never stopped standing behind it." That night, Harrington House did not sleep. Amelia moved into the guest suite. Sebastian noticed. He wanted to ask when she had stopped sleeping in their bedroom, but the question died before he could speak it. He already knew the answer would be another wound he had missed. Catherine retreated to her private wing and made 3 phone calls. One to the family attorney, one to a board member, one to someone whose name Sebastian did not recognize, but whose number had been saved under media. That was when he understood. His mother was not preparing to explain. She was preparing to attack. At midnight, Sebastian went first to Catherine's study. Locked. It had never been locked to him before. So he went to the old archive room beneath the east staircase. Harrington House had 2 histories. The public history lived upstairs. Portraits, gala photographs, anniversary speeches, newspaper profiles, and framed articles about generosity. The private history lived below. File boxes, sealed folders, tax records, legal drafts, and dust. For 36 years, Sebastian had inherited the public story. That night, he searched for the private one. He began with Harrington Private Hospital. The official version was simple: founded by his grandfather, expanded by his father, protected by Catherine, modernized through family discipline and charitable vision. But the oldest files told a less polished story. Debt notices, emergency board meetings, payroll delays, a failed expansion, a hospital close to collapse. Sebastian opened one box after another until his fingers were gray with dust. Then he found the first shock: a photograph. A young woman stood in front of Harrington Private Hospital, holding a folder against her chest. Her hair was pinned back. Her face was tired, but proud. On her jacket was a golden rose brooch. Sebastian stopped breathing. The same brooch. He turned the photograph over. On the back, in his father's handwriting, were 3 words: "Lydia saved us." Sebastian sat down slowly. The rain outside grew louder. He pulled the next paper from the folder, a staff file. But the title did not match anything Catherine had ever implied. Lydia Rose was not listed as a nurse, not a cleaner, not a temporary assistant, administrative consultant, emergency restructuring liaison, operational recovery coordinator. Sebastian read the title twice. His mother had reduced Lydia Rose to a woman from the hospital because the real title was too dangerous. The next document was a memorandum. It described Lydia's role in securing private bridge financing, negotiating vendor delays, preserving payroll, and reorganizing patient intake during the hospital's financial crisis. Then came another shock: a draft agreement, signed by Lydia Rose, signed by Jonathan Harrington. It promised Lydia a minority interest in the hospital holding company in recognition of services rendered during the emergency recovery period. Not charity, not gratitude, ownership. Sebastian's throat tightened. Then he found the next page, the same agreement. But this copy was different. Lydia's name had been crossed out, not erased by accident, not faded by age, crossed out with a deliberate black line. In the margin, someone had written, "Remove all references before annual review." Sebastian recognized the handwriting before he wanted to. Catherine's. He turned another page, a transfer document. The participation Lydia had been promised had been moved into a family-controlled entity after her name vanished from the records. Then the final shock came. Not from Jonathan, from Catherine. A signed authorization memo. Her name was clean, elegant, unmistakable: Catherine Elise Harrington. Beneath it was one sentence: "No public association with Lydia Rose is to remain in hospital materials." Sebastian stared at the signature until it blurred. His mother had not merely inherited a lie, she had managed it. He found one more paper at the back of the folder, a letter from his father, unfinished and never sent. "Catherine, Lydia has legal grounds if she chooses to fight. What we promised her was not charity. She carried the hospital when our name could no longer carry itself. I understand your fear, but burying this will not make it disappear. It will only make it return through someone innocent." Sebastian read the last line again. It will only make it return through someone innocent. He thought of Amelia's hand over their unborn son. Lucas. a child not yet born, already placed at the center of a secret older than his parents' marriage. Sebastian photographed every document, the picture, the title, the agreement, the crossed-out name, the transfer, the memo, the letter. Each click of his phone sounded too loud in the archive room. When he closed the folder and stood to leave, Catherine was waiting in the doorway. She wore a silk robe the color of bone. Her face was calm. Her eyes were not. "You always were your father's son," she said. Sebastian held the gray file at his side. "What did you do to Lydia Rose?" Catherine entered the room slowly. "I protected what generations built." "You stole what she was promised." "She was promised gratitude. She was promised ownership. She exploited weakness." Sebastian stepped closer. "You called Lydia Rose an employee because the truth would have made her a partner." Catherine's face tightened. She forgot her place. There it was, not legal language, not family loyalty, not reputation, the truth. Lydia Rose had been punished because she had helped save a world that would never allow her to belong to it. Sebastian's voice dropped. "And Amelia?" Catherine looked at him. "She is her mother's daughter." The sentence was meant as an insult. For the first time, Sebastian heard it as a warning to Catherine. The next morning, Amelia found a folder outside the guest suite. Inside were copies of everything Sebastian had found. On top was a note written in his hand. "You deserved the truth before I deserved forgiveness." Amelia stood in the doorway, one hand on her stomach, reading the sentence until the paper trembled. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and opened the folder. The photograph came first. Her mother, young, standing outside Harrington Private Hospital, wearing the golden rose. Amelia pressed the brooch at her chest, as if the two versions of Lydia might somehow touch through time. For years, Amelia had carried memories of her mother that felt incomplete. Lydia humming while folding laundry. Lydia refusing to walk with her head down, even when people made it clear she was expected to. Lydia hiding old papers inside a recipe book. Lydia saying, "One day, when someone tells you I was small, remember they needed me smaller than I was." Amelia had never understood. Now she did. Her mother had not been small. She had been reduced. That was different. Amelia read the documents once, then again. Then she dressed. She chose a navy dress, low heels, and the golden brooch. When she came downstairs, Sebastian was waiting near the entrance hall. He looked like a man who had spent the night losing the simplest version of his life. "I want to go with you," he said. "To Thomas Reed?" He nodded. Amelia studied him. "You found his name?" "In my father's notes. He represented your mother." "I will go alone." Pain crossed his face, but he did not object immediately. That mattered. Amelia stepped closer. "Do you know why Catherine almost succeeded yesterday?" "Because I let her." "Yes." The truth stood between them. "I do not say that to punish you," Amelia said. "I say it because you need to understand that discovering the truth does not make you safe for me yet." Sebastian lowered his eyes. "I know." "No," she said softly. "You are beginning to know." He accepted it. No defense, no explanation, no wounded pride. Amelia lifted the folder. "I will find out what my mother was owed. I will find out why her name was erased. I will protect my son before anyone in this family teaches him that silence is inheritance. I can help. You can, but not by following me today." His voice broke slightly. "Then what do you want me to do?" She looked toward the staircase, toward the portraits, toward the invisible machinery of Harrington House. "Stay." "With her?" "With the family you were raised to obey." Sebastian said nothing. Amelia's eyes softened, but her voice remained firm. "Do not chase me because you finally saw the truth. Stand still long enough to face it." Then she walked out. No screaming, no scene, no dramatic collapse on the marble steps. Amelia Rose Harrington left the mansion with a folder of evidence, a child beneath her heart, and the golden rose of a woman the Harrington family had failed to bury completely. Catherine watched from an upstairs window. Her face did not move, but one hand gripped the curtain so tightly the fabric nearly tore. By morning, Catherine attacked first. At 7:14 in the morning, the first headline appeared. Pregnant wife of Harrington. Heir leaves mansion after alleged financial dispute. By 8:30, the story had spread. Unnamed sources close to the family claimed Amelia had demanded a large settlement after failing to adapt to Harrington life. By 9:10, the narrative had grown sharper. She had married quickly, become pregnant quickly, wanted money quickly. No one quoted Catherine. That was her style. She never left fingerprints on the weapon. Sebastian read the article in the breakfast room while Catherine poured tea. "You should make a statement," she said, "before this becomes uglier." Sebastian placed his phone on the table. "You leaked it." Catherine looked mildly offended. "I did what was necessary." "You lied about my wife." "I protected your son from being raised by a woman who believes motherhood is leverage." Sebastian stood. "I have the contract." For the first time, Catherine's hand stopped moving. "The one you tried to force Amelia to sign," he said. "The money, the apartment, the silence, the inheritance clause." Catherine set the teapot down. "You would not dare release private family documents. You should have thought of that before using paper as a weapon." Across the city, Amelia sat in a small office above an old bookstore, waiting for Thomas Reed. It smelled of dust, paper, and rain-soaked wool. No marble, no chandelier, no servants trained to disappear. Thomas Reed entered slowly, leaning on a cane. He was older than Amelia expected, with tired eyes and a brown suit that looked as though it had survived every decade with him. Then he saw the brooch. He stopped. His face changed. "You are Lydia's daughter." Amelia stood carefully. "Yes." Thomas looked at the golden rose. "She wore that the day she refused Catherine's first silence agreement." Amelia's breath caught. "There was another agreement?" Thomas nodded. "There were several." He opened a locked cabinet and removed a red folder wrapped with an elastic band. "I promised your mother I would keep these until the Harringtons came for you." "They came for my son." Thomas's expression darkened. "Then Lydia was right to make me keep them." He placed the folder on the desk. Amelia expected contracts, letters, legal records. But the first document Thomas removed was none of those things. It was a medical bill. Amelia stared at it. Her mother's name was printed at the top. Lydia Rose. Oncology consultation. Late stage. Treatment plan. Unpaid balance. Amelia's fingers went cold. "She was sick," Amelia whispered. Thomas looked away for a moment. "Yes." Amelia's eyes filled. "She was fighting them while she was sick?" "She was fighting time, Catherine Harrington, and a legal system that listens more politely to wealthy thieves than poor witnesses." Amelia touched the bill with trembling fingers. Thomas removed the next page. A letter in Lydia's handwriting. The signature was shaky. Not because Lydia was weak, because she had been ill while signing it. Amelia recognized the curve of the L, the pressure of the R, the way her mother wrote as if every sentence had to stand, even if her body could not. Thomas read gently, "They need my silence more than they ever needed my help." Amelia closed her eyes. She had heard that sentence before. Not exactly, but close. Her mother used to say, "When powerful people ask for peace, check what they are hiding under the carpet." Amelia gave a broken laugh through tears. "She used to say that when I was little. I thought she meant messy rooms." Thomas smiled sadly. "She meant Catherine." For the next hour, he showed Amelia the truth in pieces, not one lecture, one wound at a time. Lydia Rose had not been a nurse, as Catherine liked to imply. She had helped restructure the hospital during its financial crisis. She had brought contacts who trusted her. She had negotiated with vendors. She had found emergency financing. Jonathan Harrington had promised her a minority interest. Catherine had refused to let a woman like Lydia appear beside the Harrington name. Then came the first silence agreement. Lydia refused. Then the second. She refused again. Then came social pressure, professional threats, delayed payments, missing records, and finally, illness. "They waited her out," Amelia said. Thomas did not soften the truth. "Yes, At that moment, Amelia's phone buzzed. A friend sent the article. Then another. Then another. Amelia read the headline. Pregnant wife, financial dispute, demanded money. Thomas watched her face. Catherine has moved publicly. Amelia placed the phone on the desk. She wants them asking whether I am greedy. Yes. Then we make them ask who my mother was. Together, they drafted a statement. Short, dignified, impossible to twist without revealing cruelty. By noon, Amelia released it. I have not demanded money from the Harrington family. My only priorities are my child, my health, and the truth about my late mother's history with Harrington Private Hospital. One sentence changed the story. Catherine had prepared the world to judge Amelia's motives. Amelia made the world question Catherine's history. By evening, the first follow-up article appeared. Who was Lydia Rose? Questions rise around Harrington Private Hospital's forgotten crisis. Former employees began speaking. A retired accountant remembered Lydia in emergency finance meetings. A nurse remembered Lydia staying overnight during a payroll crisis. A donor's widow remembered Catherine walking out of a room when Lydia's name was praised. The wall did not fall, not yet, but it cracked. And Catherine Harrington hated cracks more than enemies. So, she made her second move. This one was uglier. 2 days after Amelia's statement, a letter began circulating privately among Harrington trustees. It was written by Dr. Alistair Crane, an old family physician who had attended Harrington galas for 20 years and had not examined Amelia once during her pregnancy. The letter did not accuse Amelia directly. Catherine was too careful for that. It expressed concern about severe emotional distress, concern about pregnancy-related instability, concern about Amelia's ability to make significant legal decisions while under pressure, concern that outside parties might be exploiting her condition. The implication was clear. Amelia was not a witness. She was unstable. Her grief could be dismissed. Her decisions could be questioned. Her voice could be softened into symptoms. When Thomas Reed read the letter, his hands shook with anger. They are attacking your capacity. Amelia sat very still. Lucas moved beneath her ribs. For a moment, the room seemed to tilt. Then Amelia reached for the phone. What are you doing? Thomas asked. Calling my doctor. Within hours, Amelia's actual obstetrician issued a brief professional statement, confirming that Amelia was under regular care, medically capable, mentally lucid, and had never been examined by Dr. Alistair Crane. Then Amelia released a second statement, still calm, still controlled, but sharper. A physician who has never examined me has no right to diagnose my grief, my pregnancy, or my capacity to tell the truth. My mother was erased by paperwork. I will not allow the same method to be used on me. The response was immediate. Women recognized the tactic. Reporters recognized the pattern. Lawyers recognized the risk. And Sebastian recognized his mother. He arrived at Catherine's study that evening, holding the letter. She was seated at her desk, writing with a fountain pen. Of course she was. Even her cruelty had good stationery. You tried to have Amelia declared unstable. Catherine did not look up. I expressed concern for the mother of my grandchild. You used a doctor who never examined her. I used someone familiar with the family. Amelia is not a family asset requiring certification. Catherine finally looked at him. No, she is a liability. Sebastian placed the letter on her desk. This will be part of the audit file. Her eyes narrowed. You would expose a private medical concern? I would expose a fraudulent attempt to discredit my wife. She is turning you against your blood. Sebastian leaned forward. No, Mother. She is showing me what my blood has been hiding in. Catherine's smile was small and cold. You think this makes you honorable? No, he said. It makes me useful. Finally. The audit began the next morning. Sebastian assumed direct oversight of Harrington Private Hospital's historical records. He suspended document destruction. He ordered preservation of all archives. He hired an independent firm with no Harrington ties. The family attorney, Malcolm Voss, objected immediately. This is reckless, Malcolm said in the hospital conference room. There is no active legal ruling. Sebastian placed Lydia's photograph on the table. Then consider it a moral emergency. Catherine sat at the far end of the room in charcoal silk, composed as ever. Moral emergencies do not require auditors. Sebastian looked at her. No, guilty people do. The room went silent. Several board members looked down. Malcolm Voss reached for his water and missed the glass slightly. Sebastian placed the documents on the table, one by one. Photograph, title, agreement, crossed out name, transfer, Catherine's signed memo, Jonathan's letter, Dr. Crane's capacity letter. Each piece landed like a quiet blow. Catherine watched without flinching. That made her more dangerous, not less. You are allowing your wife to weaponize pregnancy, she said. Sebastian's voice did not rise. And you tried to weaponize a doctor. That was the moment some of the board members stopped looking at Catherine with loyalty and began looking at her with fear. Not fear of her power, fear of being seen beside it. The preliminary audit results arrived 5 days later. They were not poetry. They were worse. They were clear. Lydia Rose had a documented claim. Her signed agreement was never registered. Her name was removed from internal records. A related ownership interest was transferred into a Harrington-controlled entity. Payment records were concealed. Catherine authorized the removal. Jonathan knew. Malcolm Voss facilitated key revisions. And Dr. Alistair Crane's letter had been sent to trustees without any examination, medical basis, or patient consent. Sebastian read the report alone first. Then he sat in silence for nearly an hour. He did not feel victorious. He felt late. Late as a husband. Late as a son who should have questioned his mother. Late as an heir who had enjoyed the benefits of a legacy without asking who had been buried beneath it. That evening, he met Amelia in a small cafe near Thomas Reed's office. Not at the mansion. Not at the hospital. Neutral ground. She sat near the window in a cream sweater, the golden rose pinned over her heart. Her tea had gone cold. Her face was tired, but not defeated. Sebastian approached carefully. May I sit? Amelia looked up. Yes. He sat across from her and placed the preliminary audit summary on the table. It confirms the claim. Amelia looked at the folder. My mother was telling the truth. Yes. The word felt too small. Sebastian tried again. Your mother was telling the truth, and my family buried it. Amelia closed her eyes. I spent years thinking she died with unfinished grief because life had been unfair. I did not know unfair had a signature. Sebastian looked down. Catherine's. And Jonathan's, Amelia said. He accepted the correction. And Jonathan's. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Sebastian said, I am sorry. Amelia looked at him. He had apologized before, for missed dinners, forgotten appointments, late arrivals. This apology felt different because it did not ask her to comfort him after receiving it. I know, she said. I do not expect you to come back. That surprised her. He continued. I wanted to ask. I wanted to promise I would protect you now. But that would be another version of arrogance. Protection should not begin after proof. I should have believed discomfort before it became evidence. Amelia's eyes softened, but only slightly. Sebastian kept going. I loved you in ways that were easy for me. I provided. I introduced you as my wife. I defended the marriage in rooms where people could hear me, but I failed you in the rooms where you were alone. Her hand moved slowly over her belly. Love without attention still leaves someone alone. He nodded. Yes. Amelia looked toward the rainy window. I still love you, Sebastian. The words hurt because they were not enough to fix anything. But love is not a door I can walk through just because it is open, she said. I cannot return to a house where I had to bleed in silence before anyone believed me. I know. No, she said gently. You are learning. He accepted that too. What do you need from me? Amelia turned back to him. Do not make this about winning me back. Make it about telling the truth when it costs you. The final confrontation happened 3 days later. The Harrington boardroom sat on the top floor of the hospital Lydia Rose had helped save. Glass walls, leather chairs. a table polished so brightly that everyone seated around it could see their own reflection. Catherine Harrington arrived in black. Its mourning, armor. She entered slowly, allowing the room to remember who she had been for decades. The woman who approved donations. The woman who selected trustees. The woman who could make or end a reputation with one quiet lunch. Sebastian stood at the head of the table. Amelia was not there. That had been her choice. "This part belongs to you," she had told him. "Not because I am afraid to face her, because she used your loyalty as a shield. Take it back yourself." So he did. Catherine sat. "I will not participate in a public execution arranged to satisfy a woman who entered this family with nothing." The room went still. Sebastian looked at her. No, mother. She came with the one thing this family had lost. Catherine's eyes narrowed. He placed Lydia's photograph on the table. Proof. No one moved. Sebastian turned on the screen behind him. The first image appeared. Lydia Rose standing in front of Harrington Private Hospital, wearing the golden rose brooch. "This is Lydia Rose," he said. "For decades, her role in the survival of this hospital was minimized, mischaracterized, and erased." The next slide. Her actual title. Administrative Consultant, Emergency Restructuring Liaison, Operational Recovery Coordinator. The next slide. The signed participation agreement. Jonathan Harrington signed this agreement acknowledging Lydia Rose's right to minority participation. The next. The same document with her name crossed out. A murmur moved through the boardroom. The next. Catherine's signed memo. No public association with Lydia Rose is to remain in hospital materials. Catherine's face did not change. That made the room more uncomfortable. Sebastian continued. "This was not forgetfulness. It was removal." Malcolm Voss stood. "These documents require full legal review before any conclusion." Evelyn Marks, the oldest trustee at the table, cut him off. "Sit down, Malcolm. Your initials appear on the revision chain." Malcolm sat. Catherine rose slowly. "You are children playing with matches inside a house built by your ancestors." Sebastian turned to her. "No, we are adults discovering that part of the foundation belonged to someone else." Catherine looked around the room. "Do you understand what he is doing? He is inviting litigation, regulatory scrutiny, donor panic, and public humiliation because his wife cannot accept that not every family story includes her." Sebastian's voice hardened. "This story included Amelia before she was born." Catherine's mask thinned. "She manipulated you." "No, she survived you." The sentence hit the room. Catherine's eyes flashed. "That girl came into this family with nothing." Sebastian stepped forward. "She came with her mother's name. She came with the brooch you recognized before you recognized her pain. She came with the child you tried to remove before he could inherit a question. And now she comes with proof." Catherine's breathing changed. Only slightly, but everyone saw it. Sebastian lifted another document. "This is the separation contract Catherine attempted to force my 8-month pregnant wife to sign. It offered money, medical care, and a discreet apartment in exchange for silence, separation, and surrender of influence over our unborn son's inheritance." The board members looked at the contract, then at Catherine. For the first time, her elegance did not protect her. It made her look worse. Sebastian placed Dr. Crane's letter beside it. "And this is the letter circulated to trustees by a physician who had never examined Amelia, suggesting she was too emotionally unstable to make legal decisions." Evelyn Marks whispered. "My God." Catherine turned on her. "Spare me the performance. Every family represented in this room has protected itself from scandal." Evelyn's face hardened. "Protection is not the same as forgery." Catherine looked back at Sebastian. "You have no idea what I carried." "Then say it," Sebastian replied. The room went silent. "Say Lydia lied." Catherine said nothing. "Say the agreement was fake." Silence. "Say you did not order her name removed." Catherine's jaw tightened. Silence. "Say you did not try to have my wife discredited by a doctor who had never touched her pulse." Still silence. Sebastian's voice lowered. "You did not protect this family, mother. You protected a theft and called it tradition. The sentence ended her, not legally, not completely, but socially, morally, in the room that had once obeyed her most. Sebastian turned to the trustees. I move that Catherine Harrington be removed from all decision-making authority connected to Harrington Private Hospital, the Harrington Medical Trust, related charitable foundations, and all historical governance review committees pending full legal and regulatory resolution. Evelyn seconded immediately. Another trustee followed, then another. The vote passed, not unanimously. Power always leaves fingerprints behind, but it passed. Catherine stood very still. A secretary approached and quietly requested her hospital access card. The hospital's counsel informed her that her office would be sealed pending review. Her foundation spending authority was suspended. Her name would be removed from the upcoming maternity wing dedication. Her press team would no longer speak on behalf of the hospital. Her control was being taken from her one polite sentence at a time. For Catherine Harrington, it was the perfect punishment. No shouting, no scandalous collapse, just procedure. The same language she had used to erase Lydia Rose now stripped power from her hands. As she moved toward the door, she paused beside Sebastian. You think she will love you for this? Sebastian did not look cruel, only tired. No, I think she may finally believe I can love her without asking her to disappear. Catherine looked as if she wanted to slap him. Instead, she adjusted her bracelet. Even in defeat, she needed polish. Then she walked out. That evening, the headlines changed. Catherine Harrington removed from hospital authority amid historical ownership audit. The old story collapsed quickly after that, not because one person shouted louder, because too many documents spoke at once. The hospital released a formal correction acknowledging Lydia Rose's role in its financial and operational recovery. Thomas Reed filed claims on behalf of Lydia's estate. Negotiations began. Malcolm Voss resigned before he could be removed. Dr. Alistair Crane issued a public apology carefully written by attorneys and believed by almost no one. Catherine remained in Harrington House, but the mansion no longer moved around her. Staff stopped lowering their voices when she entered. Trustees stopped answering immediately. Invitations slowed. Calls went unanswered. For decades, Catherine had ruled through access. Now she was becoming someone people survived by avoiding. Amelia did not celebrate Catherine's humiliation. She had no interest in becoming cruel just because cruelty had once had power over her. Instead, she read the hospital's corrected statement alone in Thomas Reed's office. Lydia Rose's name appeared in the official history. Her real title, her real work, her real contribution. Amelia read the sentence aloud. Lydia Rose played a critical role in the financial and operational recovery of Harrington Private Hospital during its most vulnerable period. Her voice broke on critical, not because it was beautiful, because it was official. After decades of silence, her mother's truth finally had a place to stand. Months later, Amelia gave birth to Lucas Harrington on a quiet morning after rain. Sebastian was beside her through every hour, not managing, not commanding, not performing concern, present. When Lucas cried for the first time, Amelia held him against her chest and sobbed with a sound that seemed to carry every woman before her who had endured silence and still left something behind. Sebastian looked at his son and understood what inheritance should have meant all along. Not money, not control, not a name polished until it hid blood beneath it. Inheritance was truth protected before reputation. 3 months after Lucas was born, Harrington Private Hospital opened a new maternal care foundation, not in Catherine's name, not in Jonathan's. At the entrance of the renovated wing, beneath a wall of white roses, a bronze plaque was unveiled. The Lydia Rose Maternity Fund. Beneath it, the inscription read, "For the women who cared for others while no one cared for them." Amelia stood before the plaque with Lucas in her arms. She wore a cream dress and the golden rose brooch over her heart. Sebastian stood beside her, not in front, not as savior, beside her. Thomas Reed watched from the first row, wiping his eyes with an old handkerchief. Former nurses, clerks, administrators, and hospital workers stood behind him, women whose names had never appeared on plaques, though entire institutions had rested on their labor. Catherine watched from behind a glass corridor in the distance. She had not been invited to speak. No one asked her to cut the ribbon. No one waited for her approval. For a woman who had ruled through presence, being reduced to a witness was devastating. Amelia stepped forward. She touched the bronze plaque with 2 fingers. "Hi, Mom," she whispered. And for the first time, Lydia Rose was not remembered in secret. She was remembered in stone.